Cross-border payments may one day become cheaper, safer, and more efficient thanks to digital currencies and the blockchain. That's after the central banks of Singapore and France successfully completed what's called a wholesale cross-border payment and settlement experiment. It involved using a common network for their central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Well, their network was able to get around traditional challenges like limited transparency on foreign exchange rates, restricted operating hours of banks, and time zone delays. It also involved fewer banking parties, and this could cut the costs associated with contractual arrangements and anti-money laundering requirements. And for more, we're joined by Associate Professor Hannah Lim from the Nanyang Business School. Well, Associate Professor Lim, what is the significance of such an experiment? Does it set the stage for something bigger?
Well, actually, the experiment is actually quite significant at a number of levels. So just let me highlight three. So for starters, the experiment was able to achieve interoperability across different types of cloud infrastructure. This is really important if you really want a successful deployment of multiple CBDCs for cross-border payments. Secondly, the multi-CBDCs network enabled the two central banks to have visibility on the cross-border payment systems. So what this means is it's able to address money laundering issues with regulatory oversight. And thirdly, the incorporation of the automated liquidity pool for the euro and the Singapore dollar currency pairs, coupled with the use of smart contracts that automatically manage the euro and the Singapore dollar currency exchange rate, so that it's actually in line with real-time market transactions, means that transactions can be instantaneous and in real time, and there's no uncertainty about exchange rate fluctuations. So all of this adds up to a powerful new mechanism for cross-border payment systems. But ultimately, what we might be looking at in the long run might be something much bigger, so that you might see that countries with weak institutions and unstable national currencies may end up readily adopting such CBDCs, so that these CBDCs can become the denomination of international transactions, just like we have seen the US dollar being the denomination that's been used for international transactions over the decades.
And how do you think this would change the way cross-border payments are conducted? Do you have an example you could share with us?
Well, at present, banks play a really central role in cross-border payments. You can think of it as a long chain where there are a number of corresponding bank parties involved, and they all assist in transfer of funds. So you can think of it sort of like one party passing the funds on to another party and so on before it lands into the recipient's bank account. And along the way, all these parties charge fees or commissions. Now, with CBDCs, banks could face disintermediation because they're no longer needed. So that if you wanted to make a transaction, say if you want to transfer some money or pay somebody some money in Australia, you would just put this transaction on a blockchain. And once you put it on a blockchain, you can think of the blockchain having been set up so that this payment will occur in an automated fashion that is trusted, without having to go through the numerous correspondent banking parties. So that's how it becomes cheaper and more efficient. And that's also why it's crucial to have experiments to ensure that the technology works like it is supposed to. But, although this is a huge disruption for commercial banks, they can also get themselves into part of the ecosystem so that they are not completely missing out.
Well, this experiment was conducted between the central banks of Singapore and France. What are the challenges in scaling this up?
I don't think there'll be many challenges at all, because the experiment was done across different types of cloud infrastructure. And cloud infrastructure is highly scalable. So you can go up and down with a click of a hand, really, click of a button. And not only that, the experiment was also able to set up the blockchain nodes across private and public cloud infrastructure, so that, as I said earlier on, it's full interoperability. So I don't think there'll be much issues at all in scaling this up. I think that the main key challenge may be in the cybersecurity aspects, as blockchains have been known to be hacked in the past.
Great, thank you so much. Associate Professor Hannah Lim from the Nanyang Business School.